Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of the Puck Lines podcast, brought to you in partnership with Black and Gold Productions. Before we get started, please be sure to give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, at Puck Lines Pod. You can find us on YouTube by searching Puck Lines Podcast. We're just shy of that 100 mark, so I'm going to give it another shout out there. I think we're 8 or 9 away, so please go over there, subscribe to our YouTube channel. But here we are. Another week of Puck Lines podcast. Connor, how you doing today, bud?
I am good. Had a long weekend with a lot of family around, and had a sister's wedding to go to. So
They
kind
went
of
through
relaxing now. Yeah, they went through with it. Nobody ran away or got scared. So now I'm just kind of relaxing and settling back into the week and ready to see some Bruins hockey now that I don't have to postpone some games.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this will be a less eventful couple of days for me here as well. It's been busy, but we were supposed to record last night when my fire alarm decided to just scream fire nonstop for several hours. I now have 4 new smoke detectors in my house, all hardwired, all properly. Nothing has screamed at me in the last 12 hours or so. So, you know, shout out to the fire departments that have to deal with dummies. And, you people are the real rock stars of this planet, not us. So anyway, let's hope that I now get another 7 to 10 years out of those smoke detectors before I do something incredibly stupid. And what a waste of 9-volt batteries. I just spent like $20 on 9-volt batteries to replace my smoke detector batteries. And apparently the new smoke detectors, they
Don't
take double
9
A.
volts. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
first off, excellent decision, because what the hell takes 9 volts other than smoke detectors? But also, I would have saved money on 9-volt batteries had they told me that before I spent $250 on new smoke detectors. So anyway, again, we are happy to be recording today. Hopefully my internet cooperates, because it's certainly not looking like it's going to, but we'll give this a shot today. All right, let's talk Bruins. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, it already looks like Brad Marchand is the best left winger in the National Hockey League at this point.
He doesn't think so, but it certainly looks that way.
He doesn't think so, but it's starting to look that way. There's not a lot of competition when it comes to wingers in the game, and Marchand is absolutely tearing it up to begin the year. Is this going to be the year that Marchand scores 115 to 120 points and finally, bounces McDavid off the top of the pile?
It would be nice. I'm not sure. McDavid might go for 200 and beat a Gretzky record here or something. But I mean, I'm hopeful. I think Marchand deserves the credit. I don't think he's often as recognized as he should be by the wider league. And I think that we've talked about this before. It stems from his
Licking
antics.
of faces.
Yes, yeah, antics. That's actually now a crime, by the way. Just with the whole pandemic thing, you can no longer lick faces. But I do think that this is possibly the year he wins the Hart. So I would be particularly excited about that. I hope it happens. But I wonder if the league is ready to give him that kind of recognition.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with the his antics in being called the little king rat, or the nose-faced killer in Boston, as some people have called him before. Definitely supersedes the talent on the ice. But I think at some point, is there going to be any conversation that Brad Marchand could potentially get a number retirement in Boston?
All right, I am.
That's like an honest question. Like, I'm not saying like it's a given. I'm just saying he's been good enough for a long period of time on this team and been, part of that heart and soul. If they win another cup and he puts 2 rings on his hand, could that put him into conversation to potentially have his number retired.
I'm going to take it one step further and say if there are people who want to see 46 in the rafters, it's probably going to come after 63.
Really?
I think from a purely...
And timeout, were you just sniffing a candle on air? What are you doing?
Yes, I was just sniffing a candle on air. Only our YouTube viewers were going to get that.
So you were just sniffing a candle on air and said that David Krejci's number will get retired after Brad Marchand. It is like barely noon where you are. Are you drunk already this morning? Like, what is happening?
I am not.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I don't know. This episode's already way off the rails, man. I'm not sure what's happening here. No. So first off, my candle sniffing, just for folks wondering. Just for folks wondering now, is of a white pumpkin candle.
Oh, so you're a basic bitch at the same time. Oh yes. My God. I can't wait to clip this part of the video. Whew, I'm crying.
Wow. We've really gone off the rails. Yes. Oh. So 63 before 46. Here is what
I'm sorry.
We're not editing this out. I hope you know that. This is staying in and we are rolling with this. So
yes.
So I think the reason I say that is because if he puts up another season with the numbers and production wise, right? I mean, he's approaching the top of the pack in several statistical categories as a Bruin.
Correct.
So like, I think from a numbers perspective, and I'm hesitant to use the word impact because I think 46 probably made a bigger impact on your franchise, or I guess on your hockey club. 63 makes a bigger impact on your franchise. Okay. More people talk about him. More jerseys are probably sold, if I had to guess. Purely the business side of it, he's a more visible kind of guy.
Polarizing.
And so I think if you're going to put either of those numbers up, you have to consider if he continues at this pace, that 63 would go up before 46. That's a hot take, and I'm not sure I actually mean it, so I might take that back, but that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. I mean, and that's kind of what I wanted to hear, because Marchand is getting to that level. Like, he already holds the shorthanded goals record for the team. He's going to get up there in points, probably regardless, if he plays another 2 to 3 seasons at this type of pace. My assumption anyway. I'm looking at the list right now, and Brad Marchand is number 9 on the list with 722 points as of today. David Krejci has 730. So he's 8 points away from surpassing him.
And the rate he's going, that's like 2.5 games.
And to put this into perspective, Patrice Bergeron is 4th on the list at 920. Do you think, now here's another question. Do you think that Marchand plays long enough to surpass Bergeron in all-time points for the Bruins?
From the things he said, possibly. Because I feel like Marchand could play longer than a Bergeron will. Like, I think Bergeron's another year or two. I think Marchand's another... I bet you he's another 6, maybe 7.
Another 6 years. So you think he's going to play into potentially his 40s?
I do. I think he could be 41 when he hangs him up. I mean, he's the guy walking around saying, I'm going to play till they kick me out of the league.
True.
Right? And then he jokes, well, that could be tomorrow, you know, with his history. But I mean, correct, in all seriousness, if he's serious about wanting to play until they kick him out of the league, I mean, there's been no sign of him slowing down. He's only gotten better every year. So I mean, until I see that peak or even that flatness, I'm not hanging him up if I'm him.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. I think my question would be, could he keep up with the 100-point seasons after a Patrice Bergeron retires? That would really be the question, because you never know who the hell is going to play in the middle.
Well, and I think that's a great point, because who is he without 37? Who is he without Patrice Bergeron? We don't actually know that.
But you know what I think is kind of a good segue into one of the other topics we wanted to talk about? Yeah, what is 63 going to be without 37? But what could 63 and 88 be with 23? For those of you who aren't complete nerds, Jack Studnicka is who I'm referring to. Have a Marchand, Studnicka, and Pasternak line
That's
in
interesting.
another 2 to 3 years. That's crazy. I mean,
I don't know. I'm going to need more time. I'm going to need more time to process that one. I think that the potential is there, but that's a big jump.
Okay, I hear you. Now, on the topic of the Bruins' younger players, what young players or new acquisitions on the team have stood out to you through the first 4 games of the season so far? And don't go into Jeremy Swayman yet. Let's save the goalie talk for after this. Let's focus on, the forwards or defense.
I think Forbort's had a really up and down experience,
to say the least.
So that's been interesting. Nosek, I think, is the biggest standout to me so far. I really like his game. I think he's bringing an aspect and a dynamic we haven't seen before for this team. And I'll kind of reiterate, just as a whole, what I said last week. This might be the fastest team in a decade. And I am really excited about that.
And I agree. This is probably the fastest Bruins team we've ever seen. And I think they're doubling down on trying to be the fastest team when you have an injury and you plug in Carson Coleman as your first option there. That's showing that the Bruins want that speed in the lineup. Which, in the first game against Dallas, and I try not to get too far into it because it was the first game, but they made Dallas look like they were cement blocks on the ice. I mean, they were just skating circles around them for the most part, and it was, as a Bruins fan, it was very weird to see. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, and I still don't. To be honest, I look at the Bruins lineup, and I know they're eventually going to play, a Vegas, a St. Louis, the Tampa Bay. Even this week, they're going to be playing Florida, who I think is a little bit of a heavier team. And do you have enough speed to essentially skate circles around these heavier teams? The example that I first think of when it comes to my mind is that series a couple of years ago between Tampa Bay and Columbus, where Columbus came in and, just pushed them around and shit kicked them off the ice.
Yep.
That's what worries me, because yes, like you said, Forbert's kind of had an up and down season. You don't have that as a Bruins player. Every Bruins player who has those up and down seasons, they end up out of Boston.
Yep.
That it's just not accepted within the Bruins organization. So
I think it's worth noting, though, that it's only been 4 or 5 games or whatever. I don't know that we can judge his season off of where we are right now. I do think it's worth noting that the McAvoy experiment ended quickly when the struggle began. So
then the bane of my existence happened, and I grew about 30 more gray hairs. When they put Forbert and Clifton on the ice together, I wanted to scream.
And that, folks, is why I told you they needed more defensive depth in this offseason than what they did. Because that pair cannot exist in the NHL together. It just cannot.
Now, defensive depth. So you have McAvoy, Grzelcyk, Carlo, Riley. That's your solid top four.
And I think that's a solid top three.
Solid top three. So who's your odd man out? Riley?
Yes.
Okay. Fair
I think
enough.
he'd be a great fifth or sixth defenseman.
So you think that they need someone to replace Riley in that second pair and push him down to play with Forbert?
Correct.
And that would essentially push Clifton out of the lineup.
Thank God, yes.
Okay. So what really intrigued me about the Forbert experiment is they took him out game 2 or game 3. It was one of those two. And they put in John Moore. Well, John Moore is now in the AHL. He played that one game and they parked him in Providence and took him off the cap. So you came into this season with that top four and then maybe a mix of Forbert, Clifton, John Moore, Zaboral, and maybe throw Urho Vakanainen in the mix as contestants for your bottom pairing. None of that really seems to be panning out.
No, because they should have gone out and done what they needed to do in the offseason, which was bring back a top four defenseman. This team's they didn't. They did not. This team is built to be a contender, not a winner, unless they do something about that decor.
Yeah. Now, this is what drives me bananas about the Cam Neely, we're looking for that elusive left shot D. Like, you don't even need to go that far for me. You just need to say that we are really looking to add a defenseman to our group. And mean it. Because that statement to me is bullshit. Look at what the Flyers did, for example. They brought in Ristolainen, Keith Yandel, and Ryan Ellis. Those are 3 really decent pieces on your blue line.
Yeah.
You know, the Bruins could have went in and had probably Keith Yandel on a deal. He probably would have signed with Boston if they offered him a contract, I would assume.
Well, because he wanted a ridiculous contract. Didn't he sign for ridiculous term?
I don't believe he did.
Or am I thinking somebody else?
I think you might. That was Ryan Suter, I believe. He went 5 years.
For 4 years, maybe. Okay. 4 or 5
right. years. So Keith Yandel's contract is a 1-year, $900,000 deal.
Yeah. So if you didn't offer him that, that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, and having the Boston connection there, like, come on, it was perfect. And yeah, the Ryan Suter was a 4-year deal. The caveat with him is he's over 35, where they have that special 35 and over contract. Yeah. So if Ryan Suter retires in the next year or two, they get no cap relief for the entire contract. They're screwed. So, you know, in that perspective, I'm okay with the Bruins not doing it, but it's just frustrating as an organization when you come out and say that, hey, we want to do A, B, and C, and you do D and E. Yeah. And then you say, man, that was a win. Well, like we want to address our bottom 6 depth and our defense, but we're going to sign a bunch of bottom 6 forwards and surprise, a goalie.
Yeah. I mean, I think what? I think the frustrating part for me isn't that it's a 1-year issue. It's an every year issue. We hear the same damn thing and the same result. And it's just that, like, just a second too short from pulling off what it is you need to pull off. That said, I stick by my original take of this is Don Sweeney's best offseason. I just think it needs that one more push, that one more piece at the deadline if you really want to be a winning team.
Correct. Now, the good news is the Bruins at the trade deadline with sending Wagner and John Moore down to the AHL, they currently have cap space of $2.5 million. At the deadline, currently estimated to have $11.7 million in cap space.
Yeah, but you have to be able to manage that cap going into the next seasons as well. So, like, assuming you're bringing back a non-rental. I mean, I guess if you go out and you get a rental, then that's fine. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty low on the decor. I have been pretty low on the decor. I was hopeful this offseason they were going to make a big splash. Then I was waving the floorboard flag saying, yeah, this will do it. But I'm at the point where he is what he is, and he looks exactly like what he looks like. And I just feel like they need that one more D piece. If they're really going to win, they need that piece still.
Yeah. And trust me, I 100% agree with you. And what's wild is we haven't really seen the Bruins have this much cap flexibility in a long time. Now, $2.5 million in cap space does not sound like a lot of money, but in the NHL, that's a shitload of money.
Yep.
That could potentially be three to four veteran players, of the Keith Yandel or the Jumbo Joe style contracts, Like you can add a lot of pieces or you can add one huge significant piece.
Right.
Now, speaking of moves and some other news, I saw a tweet that you had kind of shared out there that got your ire up with Elliot Friedman making some comments about the Boston Bruins. Do you want to touch on that at all? I'm not going to say the name because I'm always that guy. I need you to say it.
No, not particularly. Here's what I'll say. I hope, for the sake of the game, that Jack Eichel goes to a team that he can help cornerstone the franchise. And the Boston Bruins are not that team. And that's okay. And move on, people. So I believe my tweet was no, with then a bunch of iterations of no. And like, I don't understand you people. There's like 100 likes on the tweet. There's like 40 something comments. It's like, this isn't new. I haven't changed my tone on this. I've said the same thing consistently from the beginning. It has nothing to do with his character for me. It has nothing to do with him being a quitter, in air quotes, for those listening and not watching. It has everything to do with the fact that the cap gymnastics don't work in a way that you're going to win that trade. And you're in a win now mentality. So go win the damn thing now. You don't need Jack Eichel to do that. So don't go out and chase dreams for zero reason at all. Go win the damn thing.
So a couple of things I want to touch on, because you just said something that you've never said before, and it made me think. You said, Jack Eichel, I hope he can go somewhere where he can be the cornerstone of a franchise. Do you think that's really what he wants after everything that's going on right now? Or does he want to be the Taylor Hall where he goes to, like say the Vegas Golden Knights, for example.
Yeah.
He can go to Vegas and he can be one of the guys and not the guy.
I hear your point, and that's probably what he wants.
Yep.
But what I'm telling you is that's not what's good for the game. What the game wants is for him to go be the cornerstone of a franchise. See, the thing is, the thing the Bruins fans miss is I'm actually not just a fan of the Bruins. I'm a fan of the game, right? And so, like, when I talk about these trades from a Bruins perspective, I'm also looking at it from the league perspective, right? Like, the NHL is never going to be the NBA. You're never going to have super teams.
Yeah.
So, unless
Tampa Bay.
Okay, but still no, because there was enough talent still spread around the league. You've got your Ovechkins, your Crosbys, your Halls, your Marchands, right? Your Pasternaks. Like, they're on other organizations. Yes, you can have a team with a lot of talent, especially when you have no regard for cap, and that's why Eichel will probably end up in Tampa Bay. But the truth is that the league needs him to go somewhere that he can help build an organization's reputation and help sell jerseys and seats and to an organization that can manage itself. So not a Buffalo, not an Arizona, not right. He needs to go somewhere.
You know
where I
really
want to see him go?
Okay, perfect. We both have a team. Who's your team? And then I'm going to tell you my team who I'd love to see him play on.
The LA Kings.
No way.
Yes.
You've already got Doughty and Kopitar there.
But that's the team I want him to go to. Yeah, but Doughty's dead, isn't he? Didn't he just like die basically?
Pretty much. Now, here's my team. And I think this is perfect because the organization has great ownership, great management and structure. And I think having a legit superstar on their team would completely change the look of the team in the city. And that's the Detroit Red Wings.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Like, if you think about it, they have the cap space without a problem. And they have tons of young prospects and picks. And if all else fails, our favorite Sabres super fan, Jill, Sabres bunny, has made the offer that they will trade Jack Eichel to Detroit for GM tips from Stevie Y.
Listen, I think Buffalo should probably do it. But no, in seriousness, you could do that, but you're probably giving up Dylan Larkin as part of the package.
That's fine, as far as I'm concerned. Dylan Larkin is not as good as people would like to think. Jack Eichel is better than Dylan Larkin.
Yes.
If you want to argue with me on that, I will fully fight you till the end of the earth.
No, we're not going to argue on that. I agree. I just don't think Dylan Larkin is as bad as you say he is.
I don't know.
He's on a shit team. Really, all it is he's on a shit team. Let's be real about it.
Yes and no. Even when he first came into the league and Detroit was still okay, he never really blew the doors.
He looked good. He looked good. Listen, do I think he was over projected for what he's going to turn out to be? Yes.
Absolutely. Do
I think he's good? Yes.
I don't think he should even be the captain in Detroit, to be honest.
Who else would be the captain in Detroit?
Nobody at the moment, but I don't think it's him. I think at some point they are going to move away from Larkin. Almost
so then move
Anthony
him for Eichel.
Mantha.
You have the cap space.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I feel like being the original Six franchise, having a great history, you have a virtually brand new arena still. That's phenomenal. I've been there. It's fantastic. All you need is a legit bona fide superstar to come in to help you sell some more jerseys and get some more excitement, because they have a lot of talent that's coming up in their roster. Like Moritz Seider. Everybody had a stroke when they picked him. I believe it was number 6 in that draft, because Ken Holland had just went to Edmonton and they had good intel that he later in the first round was going to pick him. So they picked him 6 overall instead of waiting until late in the first or the second. And then you have Lucas Raymond. Just put up a hat trick the other night. He scored more than a point per game. They've got some players that are coming down the line. I think it would be fantastic for the league to have the Red Wings be a competitor again, especially with Stevie Y at the helm. It's almost like a ready for a movie to be made,
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I think that Stevie Y knows better than you and I. So if he wants Eichel, he should go get Eichel. That would be interesting. I would actually like that. I think it'd be good for the league. I just don't know that they're going to want to give up what it's going to cost to get Eichel.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably right there, but we can save that for another day because the Eichel saga never never ends. It's the gift that keeps on giving for us writers and podcasters within the NHL. But let's kind of wrap up some of this Bruins talk with the rest of the week here. The Bruins have 3 more games this week: Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. They play the Panthers in Florida on Wednesday. They are in Carolina on Thursday and return home to play the Panthers again on Saturday. Now, before the show here, we were kind of chit-chatting and doing some stuff, and I told you that I think that this is going to be the week that the Bruins probably get their teeth kicked in a little bit. Now, the reason that I say that is both the Panthers and Carolina are undefeated. Doesn't sound too fancy because the season just started. This is the stat that's kind of stuck out to me. Goal differential. The Panthers are a plus 15 goal differential in 6 games, and Carolina's played 5, and they are a plus 14. Now you say, oh, wow, like that's impressive. But who have they played? Well, the Panthers have played the Islanders. They've played the Lightning. They've played Colorado. They played Philly. They're not playing awful teams. And I know earlier this season we kind of were on the fence. Are the Panthers going to be legit? Are they going to, regress from their great season last year? I mean, so far, this looks legit. Everybody questioned the Sam Bennett trade last year to Florida, and he's like their top point getter this year. It's starting to look like this is finally coming together.
I would agree. I think the Panthers are the team to beat right now.
In the league or just in the division?
I mean, because in the league.
That's a bigger difference to me. In the league.
The Panthers, I don't know if you've watched any of their games.
I have not yet. I'm going to obviously watch a lot this week.
They look good. That said, the Bruins are the Dragon Slayers. They've already, removed several people from their castle. So I'm gonna take a chance here, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes. But I'm gonna throw some money the Bruins' way because they will finally not be favored in some games, and they'll still win because they're the Bruins, and I have no objectivity, and I think they might win.
So are we saying the Bruins are like Kingslayers now because they finally beat the hot fire wagon of a team, Buffalo Sabres, who are just ripping it up this year?
Yeah, maybe we should talk about that next. I think that's a great segue.
So everybody knows who listens to the show that Andrew absolutely loves the Buffalo Sabres, and we're going to take a little vacation there soon. And he is so excited that his second favorite team in the league,
garbage,
is killing it and in 3rd place in the Atlantic Division. And what's more impressive is they whooped up on the Tampa Bay Lightning last night.
Yeah, well, that's not that impressive. The Tampa Bay Lightning haven't looked very good.
They haven't. I'll give you that.
Listen.
So give me a little sauce on the Sabres here, because I know it's eating away at you that they're good, and you're just getting everything shoved down your throat by Sabres fans.
So they're gonna go 7-3 and 7-2-1 in their first 10, and then they're gonna go 0-15-5 in their next 20, and they'll be right back where they're supposed to be, which is the bottom of my shoe. Not even worth scraping off. I'm actually just gonna throw the shoe away. That's where they'll be after 30 games.
Wow. So you wouldn't, put any stock into, maybe this is a us against the world mentality where they're trying to band together, where, everybody knows and thinks that they're going to suck, and Jack Eichel drama and the team drama. Do you think that plays into it at all as to the success so far this season? And can they keep that up?
I'm actually going to give a very level-headed take here. I think you're right. I do think they very much are being coached well. I think they're playing well with what they have available to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go as far as saying they're going to have a 500 season.
And that's a huge success.
That is a huge success for
But
Buffalo.
at the same time, for a bad team with a couple really good drafts coming up, that is the opposite of what you would like to hear.
Yes. No. Oh no. I'm about to. I was being too nice there a few minutes ago, saying they were going to be the bottom of the barrel again. Here's where I think they're going to finish. Dead in the middle. They're not going to get shit out of this season on either the draft board or the scoreboard. And they're just going to end up being a middle of the road, probably fun to watch for Buffalo fans. Maybe they don't hemorrhage as many season ticket holders next year. Yeah. But they're certainly not, they're not coming out here. Like, if you're trying to tell me they're going to find themselves in a playoff spot this year, I just don't buy it. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, I wasn't going that far. I just love to poke you when it comes to anything Buffalo Sabres, because it's a fun
great
time.
franchise. What a great franchise that is.
And you know what?
I'm kidding. Their people are great, but their franchise sucks.
We both said Detroit and then LA as great places for him to go and, help grow the league. And what's really funny to me is if this wasn't happening, we both probably would have said Jack Eichel would be perfect in Buffalo because they have a great fan base who will just eat it up. And no matter what, it'll be successful. And it's completely blown up in their face.
But that ownership and that management is so bad. They couldn't even pull off making Jack Eichel look good, which tells you way more about management and ownership than it does about Jack Eichel.
True. But do you think that the Sabres will win or lose the Jack Eichel trade in reference to recreating the future of the franchise?
They're going to win because they're trying to commit crimes against humanity right now, from what I can tell. I mean, wanting 4 first-round picks for a guy that needs a potentially life-altering surgery is cute and adorable, and somebody's going to pay it, I fear. That is really my issue. Or maybe 2 first-round picks and a highly graded prospect. Like, they're going to get a package out of this that is going to be unreal, and then they're going to destroy everything they touch after they get that package. So it's still not going to change the franchise as long as that ownership is there. But if that went to any other of the 31 franchises in the NHL, it would make the difference for their franchise.
Okay, because that's what I was kind of trying to get to is, will actually trading Eichel change anything in the franchise? But it sounds like you think as long as the Pagulas own Buffalo,
correct,
that it's not going to pan out.
That is correct.
So that leads me to another thing. Do you think the NHL or the NHLPA will step in more forcibly to this scenario to push things along and get a deal done with another team?
If it doesn't happen soon, they have to. The NHL can't afford to have this continue to go on. Right? Okay. Like the NHL looks just as bad here, because while I understand the concept of a CBA and a contract very well, the entire fan base doesn't understand a team being able to make a medical decision for you. Right? And I don't think that looks very good on the league to say, hey, this guy isn't even a person to us. He's a contract, and we're not going to get him the surgery he's looking for to alter his life in a positive way. I think it's a bad look for the NHL in a league that's already supposedly popping people full of painkillers and addictions and just all the other scandals breaking. Like, this league needs to just do something that makes them feel human again, so that they don't alienate an entire portion of their fan base.
So would you say that this will lead into the NHL restructuring some things in the CBA as far as medicals go? Like, do you think it gets there?
It will lead to the NHLPA negotiating differently next time they're back at the table. And frankly, it should, because I understand conceptually protecting your investment, but you can't dehumanize people in doing it. And I think that the NHLPA is going to hear that from their players. I think they're going to recognize that from the scandals they're currently going through. And I think that is ultimately what ends up leading to that change we talked about in the last episode.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's really wild. Everything that's happening here and how the NHL is going about it. I know that to some degree they have to kind of step back and let the team run their business. I understand that. But it's really, really odd what the NHL is starting to insert themselves and what they will just let go. Like, for example, I had sent you a tweet like right after we had started recording that the Blackhawks are going to be having a press conference in about an hour and 15 minutes to discuss the investigation into the issues in Chicago.
I had not seen that because my internet is so garbage today. I've closed Twitter, but that is very interesting.
So, full transparency, depending on what happens there, maybe we jump back in the recording studio later and do a little something else and maybe snip it back into this podcast and do a little editing, or maybe we do it as its own accord here. Depends what happens. Well, as promised, we're back. We decide to jump on and record a little segment that we will shove into the middle of the podcast post Blackhawks press conference here, where Jenner and Block came out and announced the results, or the briefing, if you will, on the Brad Aldridge investigation. Now, this has been going on since about May or June of this year. 139 witnesses have been interviewed at this point, 21 of them being players. Most importantly, in this investigation, John McDonough, Stan Bowman, Jay Blunk, Kevin Cheveldayoff, general manager of the Winnipeg Jets now, and Joel Quenneville, head coach of the Florida Panthers, were all informed of the allegations on May 23rd of 2010. As you recall, Cheveldayoff and Quenneville had previously this year come out and said that they did not know until they had heard and the investigation started within the HR department of the Blackhawks, which John McDonough had reported to them on June 14th of 2010. So their statements did differ from earlier this year. Rocky and Danny Wirtz, as part of the story and the ownership group of the team, were not privy to these allegations until just prior to the lawsuits being filed earlier this year. Now, in the fallout of these things coming to light, Stan Bowman has, quote unquote, stepped aside as the general manager of the Blackhawks, and Al McIsaac has been removed as the VP of hockey operations. Now, Quenneville and Cheveldayoff both have been kind of warned by Gary Bettman that he will be having in-person conference with them where he reserves judgment on what's going to happen with them moving forward. Likewise, Bettman also released via the NHL that there will be a $2 million fine against the Blackhawks organization. And the Blackhawks organization also announced that Kyle Davidson will replace Bowman as the interim general manager while they look for a new hockey ops department. Now, Andrew, what is most shocking to you about this scenario so far?
I think there's two or three things. One, the fine is an absolute joke. Just to put that into perspective for our listeners, it's like finding you or I a Snickers bar at a gas station, right? Like, we're probably paying a little bit too much because we're not buying it wholesale, but we don't have a need to buy wholesale Snickers bars. So we're going to spend a little bit extra to get that kind of just one candy bar we're interested in. That's what they essentially just fined the Blackhawks. I think 2, the situation with the Florida Panthers and the Jets, I would hope that those organizations, prior to Bettman even having those conversations, would announce the departure of those 2 people. Now, for the Florida Panthers, you're off to a great start. What does this do to your team? That's an interesting thing, but it doesn't matter at some point. And I think I say it in this episode, even though we're cutting this in the middle, and I have no idea whether I've said it yet or I'm going to say it in a bit, but it's time to humanize the game, right? And if that was a sneak peek to the future, great. If that was a, look at the past, I'm sorry it wasn't as exciting as I'm making it sound, but it is time to humanize this game. They've had enough issues of, human rights concerns and the drugs and the pain and just all of the different issues, including this. They've got to get rid of those 2 guys. Big hockey guys, but not bigger than the people involved in the game. So that was kind of the second thing. And then the third thing for me that really almost stung is the fact that they went through that playoff run allowing this guy to be around the John Doe of this case. And that is disgusting, disturbing, and just an absolute removal of duty from what you have as a human being, let alone a general manager, an assistant general manager, or VP of hockey ops. Like, whatever your title is, it's just disgusting that you wouldn't address that and allow this person to be around the team for that long without doing anything about it. It's frustrating and gross.
And he was allowed to participate in these celebrations after they won the Stanley Cup in the same vicinity as John Doe.
Right. Like, just like, not only did you hide it for a month so you could go win a cup, but like, you hid it for a month, and then even after it came out, you did nothing about it.
And the Rocky and Danny Wirtz did say, very specifically that the team's management group valued results and success over what they owed to John Doe as being a part of their team. And they vowed that they need to do better and will do better, which, it's words at this point. But I think what really is off-putting about this scenario to me is Stan Bowman. How, after all of this happens, he is allowed to step aside. I feel like that was a mistake. He should have been fired. The team should have come out and say, we fired Stan Bowman
into the sun. I mean,
for these issues
from his position.
And then not just that, it doubled down and it got worse. And this almost made me lose my mind. But they released a statement via the Blackhawks social media to the press from Stan Bowman, where he essentially said that he brought it to John McDonough to report and thought that he would take care of it and do what needed to be done. And in hindsight, that was a mistake, and I should have done it myself. Absolutely not, Stan Bowman. Get the fuck out of here. That's disgusting. And 2, a $2 million fine against this organization is like throwing a peanut at an oak tree. Honestly, you could have taking away multiple draft picks, maybe adding an extra $20 million to that fine. But $2 million of a fine is pathetic. And I'm pretty sure there's no collective bargaining agreement blocking the NHL from, slapping just a ridiculous fine on an ownership group.
No, there's not. I mean, that's the most puzzling piece, is that there's not any sort of protection for the ownership group in this scenario, yet you somehow left it there. Now, I want to call out because I saw this on Twitter earlier, right? The Blackhawks only being fined $2 million when the Devils were fined $3 million for the Kovalchuk contract says the NHL thinks messing with cap restrictions is worse than sexual assault and the subsequent cover-up. So this is even something that has a precedent. You have fined NHL ownership more than this. And I know they say they didn't know about this, but that doesn't matter. Your organization from top to bottom then covered up something from getting to ownership. Not just your general manager, but your HR department, your operations department, the people who are doing the original investigation that I put in quotes. Like, what investigation? Clearly there was nothing ever done about this because he left his job, and then there was a review written about what a great job he did after he left and all of this was known. So like, you
it's
can
a
hold
systemic
ownership
issue in
accountable.
Chicago.
Yes.
Like at this point it is, because the Akeem Alou situation when he played for Rockford, which was their affiliate at that point in time, was right around that same time frame. It was within plus or minus 2 years.
Yeah.
So, and I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe somebody will tell me on Twitter later, I don't think there was ever a fine to the organization for that situation and allowing that kind of thing to happen.
Well, I believe you're correct, but I think even let's go even more parallel to that. And then you can bring up who this is, but think about Montreal and the draft. Like, how absolutely disgusting is that situation now, knowing what we know?
Yeah, and I made a tweet earlier about said person, Marc Bergevin in Montreal, about, does this change his future? Right now, he doesn't have a contract towards the end of this year. Everybody says that the ownership group has said that they want him back, but he's unsure. But honestly, I've thought, is he going to wait to see what pans out? Because he was an assistant GM with Chicago when this was all happening. Now, he wasn't mentioned.
To be clear, he was not named in this report.
Correct.
Well, he was named in that he was interviewed. He was not named as being somebody who was in this meeting prior to them
and had intimate knowledge. They
Correct.
Did not say that. Correct. That's what I was about to get into. However, you have guilt by association.
Yes.
Like, you can't tell me that Cheveldayoff or Bowman or McDonough didn't at some point say anything to Bergevin about this. He knew at some point in time. He knew 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he said nothing. So are we going to see, a 360? Maybe the ownership group of Montreal was blowing smoke and they were waiting to see what happened. So that way they don't end up like the Winnipeg Jets or Florida Panthers and have somebody on a giant contract who now they have to terminate because of some bad press.
Well, and I mean, listen, I like, it's just
this is going to completely shake the entire NHL.
Yes.
For the next month.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at least the next month. I mean, again, I hope that teams make the decision to play this out quickly and get rid of these guys, and we can, for lack of a better phrase, start to heal during that process. But this just gets back to, and I feel like we've talked about it in 5 or 6 episodes recently, the NHL needs to get their shit together and quickly, because best sport, worst league is becoming like I'm going to start wearing t-shirts that say best sport, worst league. Like, it's getting bad. And this is just another example of that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else I can really add to that. Do you have anything else that you want to throw in there?
No, just back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Alrighty, back to it. Well, now your team sucks anyway. And you have a 30-something-year-old coach who you are losing 5-3 in a game, and he walks over with the fucking clipboard. Oops, gotta mark this one as explicit. He walks over with the clipboard, and he puts it down on the bench to Dominic Kubalik, and he stands back and lets the players draw up their own play. I, in all my time of watching all different levels of hockey, have never in my life seen that.
No,
That
even if you're
to
gonna
me screamed, this man is about to lose his goddamn job.
And even if you're going to let the players be involved in designing the play, which I have heard of and I've heard coaches be accused of, you don't do it on national TV with the clipboard on the bench.
Absolutely not. And I think that Chicago has to completely strip it down. Like, I know that Chicago is afraid that it's going to go back to the pre-2010 era where their building is desolate and they can't pack that stadium to save their life. But at the same token, I think at some point you just have to accept your loss and realize that you really screwed the pooch in your organization multiple times.
Right. Not just once.
And you have to completely clean house. And, like, for example, this is what makes me think that Marc Bergevin in Montreal isn't going to sign any extension until this whole mess is over with. Because if they come out, in another hour or so, and they fire Bowman and they fire Colleton and say the team's been bad, this investigation came out with this, we're just going to do it all at once and do a clean sweep, there's going to be guilt by association that spreads throughout the entire league because of it.
Oh, for sure.
So that's why I said, like, depending on what happens, I do want to record something for this later because this could be like an absolute bombshell.
It could be. Yeah, no, I mean, we're not going to know until that press conference. My fear is that they're going to come out and say, this is absolutely nothing. Stop paying attention to it. We're all good.
And of course, that could probably happen. I don't know. We'll see. But while we're talking about the Blackhawks, one of the other topics here, before we get to the gambling segment and wrap it up, is the COVID protocol and the injury bug that's going around. You and I both play fantasy hockey. It's absolutely destroying my season so far, just like it did last season.
0-2, baby.
Hey, at least I'm 1-1, and I only lost by like 40 points last week. But this morning, the Blackhawks... I didn't
lose by more than 40, did I?
No, I lost by 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a bad week last week because of suspensions and COVID, etc. But the Blackhawks announced that Borgstrom and Jonathan Taves are both out due to COVID protocol to add some more insult to injury in Colorado. But you've had people like Brandon Saad, Nathan McKinnon, in COVID protocols. You've had Mackenzie Blackwood there on the injury bug. Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, Mark Stone, Pacioretty. Like, so many brand name players in this league are missing time due to COVID protocols and injuries. Like, it's almost to the point where it's counterproductive to the league. Like, we're seeing a lot of teams who we weren't expecting to be good winning a lot of games, and I think that this is something that's contributing to that. The star talent isn't playing in this league all the time.
Right. No, and I mean, there's not much you're going to be able to do to solve that. I just think that it's a shame that this is where we are right now, and I think that I just don't know there's much you can do. I mean, they've got one of the highest vaccination rates as a league.
There's only one player as of yesterday who will not be vaccinated by December 1, and that is Tyler Bertuzzi. That is the only one left.
And I say, you probably just shouldn't play anymore. But mostly because it makes you a bad teammate. like at this point, the rest of the league has stepped up and done what's needed to be done, regardless of how you feel about it or what you think about it. Like, just be a good damn teammate. And if you're not going to be a good teammate, you don't belong in the NHL. Like, it's as straightforward as that at this point. But I do think there's nothing they can do about it. I do think it's worth, if this continues to be an issue, talking about how the league addresses it potentially in a later episode. But it's a frustrating situation as a hockey fan not get to watch the superstars.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think most importantly, one of the issues is, and for us, obviously, because of the show, and, maybe this is the perfect transition to end up the show, it makes gambling on the game an absolute nightmare when you don't know until an hour or two before the game who's actually going to be able to play or not.
That is 100% true. It also speaks to why we're 3-5 this season in terms of the picks we've given out. What I will say is the picks we've given out just broke even from a units perspective. So that's the good news. We're not running hot or cold right now. We're just kind of breaking even, and in gambling that can be not a bad spot to be in. But we are 3-5 on picks. We were 2-1 last week, so I think that's pretty good. This week, I'd say we're going to give out 3 picks. I will tell you that I'm hesitant on 2 of the 3, and that I'm only going to do a unit because I'm not super confident. But we've got the Lightning versus the Penguins here tonight. Taking the Lightning on the puck line, I think, is an interesting move. They're obviously not favorited to win, which is unusual for the Lightning, right? This is maybe the first time in a couple of years you're going to see the Lightning at plus 177 on the puck line. So I say jump on that because at some point they're going to have to be different. They can't be this bad forever, and the Penguins are missing half their organization still. So Danton Heinen can't continue. I know Bruins fans, you love that name. Danton Heinen can't continue to carry that organization forever. It's just
the
not
secret
going to happen.
They needed to play Danton Heinen with Bergeron and Marchand to make it work. They didn't know that.
Yeah. Weird how they didn't know that. That's such a weird thing not to know. On the money line the following day, Bruins versus the Hurricanes. We're going to take the Bruins on that game. Again, my thesis of they're the Dragon Slayer, they're the King Slayer, they're about to go out and get the job done. I think they end that streak on the Hurricanes. That said, I would take the over on that game. And this is the first time this season we're giving an over-under pick, so might be worth talking about.
Are you taking the Hurricanes on Thursday's game? Or did you mistakenly say Hurricanes when you meant to say the Panthers tomorrow night?
I meant to say the Panthers tomorrow night.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
So the Panthers tomorrow night on the money line, and the Panthers over under, and we're taking the over tomorrow night.
Correct. I am just happening to read off notes that I mistyped, which is how we got there. But yes, that is correct.
Now, to put this just in a real quick, brief perspective for how we got there when we talk this through, the Penguins have a lot of injuries, and the Lightning aren't as bad as they're showing so far this season. At some point, both of those things are going to change. Andrew and I have this gut feeling that the Lightning are going to come out strong after being embarrassed by the Sabres, and they will embarrass the AHL team that's currently playing in Pittsburgh. Now, of course, we are Bruins homers to some degree, so we'll take them on the money line with no explanation needed. But as far as the over-under with the Panthers, there's only 2 games this season that have been under 6 goals in the game. For the Panthers, it almost seems like an obvious go, especially with the new goaltending tandem that the Bruins have. So I feel like if there was to be a lock of the week here, it is going to be tomorrow night hammering the over for Bruins versus Panthers.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thanks, Mark Allred and the Black and Gold production crew for supporting our show. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at PucklinesPod. You can help us get a URL for YouTube by searching us Pucklines Podcast on YouTube. And you can give me a follow on Twitter at Andrew Taverna.
And you can always find me at Connor Green 777 on Twitter. Again, thank you all to everyone who likes, comments, shares, subscribes. We love you all and appreciate you. You really make this stuff happen. So to all of you, enjoy your week, enjoy your hockey, and we will be back soon to chat with you.